Slenderman isn't real. That's how the story starts. That's how the story will most likely end. I didn't lie. My name is Raksha, and this is my story. Slenderman isn't real. Helen had said this to a variety of times to me. I nod vaguely and she cries out in frustration. I silently watch her fume, her round, pudgy pig face, red all the way to her roots of her bleached hair. She looks me in the eye and I return her stare. She's pleading with me, but I don't care. She wants me to say I lie, but I won't do that. Obviously, seeing my resolution, she stands up and storms out of the room. I hear her screaming at my fiancé that she couldn't help me, that I was a lost cause that should be abandoned. Reaching for my untouched coffee that lay on the side table aside the couch I lounged on, I stir in some of the provided sugar and wait for Jared to come and get me. When he does, his eyes show exhaustion. A stab of sympathy hits me. That's all for my yelling that night. Hardening up quickly, I gave him some of my legendary cold shoulders. I told him he couldn't leave me. He refused. Therefore, his well-being was no concern of mine. He seated himself beside me on the psychiatrist's couch. Why won't you admit Slenderman isn't real? What could you possibly gain by keeping up this charade? I scoffed at him in his weakness. Was he really expecting me to soften up, lie, and tell him I would stop playing a game that doesn't exist? As if I would play such a useless game? He knows I don't play in something that doesn't benefit me in return. He doesn't say a word as he got up from the couch. But just as he went to walk out the door, he said to me, I'm calling it off. Our engagement, our relationship, everything. I'll file all the paperwork and send it to you to sign. I'll tell your family you just kept obsessing over things that aren't there. And with that, I lost Jer forever. I didn't care. He didn't believe me. No, he didn't want to believe me. All because of his fear. I couldn't spend all my life with someone that weak anyhow. I rose from the couch, dusted off my jeans, and standard through the dreary day in Seattle. Rainy clouds forming in the sky, ready to pour at any given moment. I fingered the large kitchen knife, the lone item I kept in my handbag. A drizzle began to rain down over the town, but I continued to walk east towards the woods. He was already there when I arrived. His suit was extraordinarily dry, as if the rain found him as revolting as I did. His snake-like arms dangled, barely scraping the forest floor. He assessed me in silence. I didn't think he was blind, but I always had to remind myself that he could see me better than I could see him. I guess I would never get over the feeling that he was wearing some morbid Halloween costume. His long tendrils were absent for the time being, and one of his long arms stretched towards my face. His splendid fingers explored my face and my body without ever touching it. I didn't hide the repulsing shivers it caused. Finally, it seemed as though he was deep into the trance, or an enchantment, or whatever this monster could feel. I dug deep into my bag to unsheath the knife, and I plunged it into his chest. He didn't look like he was in pain. Then again, he didn't look like anything. His face was still glued to his body as I screamed. My legs couldn't support me anymore, but I stood. His gaze literally wouldn't let me go. I felt blood seeping through my clothes, slithering down my torso. My knife was plunged into his chest, yet it wasn't him that I'd pierced. The forest began to blacken out. I realized that I wasn't fainting. It was Slenderman. His tendrils weren't absent, but were whirling through the forest, dodging my vision. A slimy cloak enfolded me, and Slenderman's face became a smile, full of razor and scissor faced me. I understood why people like Helen didn't search for monsters or deny their existence. People like her realized it before people like me. She understood me, or better yet, the monster inside of me. Slenderman doesn't exist, sure, but you do, as do the monsters inside.